Growing up, I've seen a lot of Halloween specials. Some good, some bad, but almost all of them are enjoyable in one way or another. So this week, I want to talk about some of my all-time favorite Halloween specials. For the record, I've spoken about Ghostwatch before, which is why it's not on this list. Garfield's Halloween Adventure. Garfield started as a comic strip from author Jim Davis. The first strip was published June 19th, 1978. On October 25th, 1982, there was the TV special, Here Comes Garfield. The animated special was a huge hit, and it was nominated for an Emmy. Every year after that, there was a Garfield special, but the fourth special, Garfield's Halloween Adventure, was the first holiday-themed special. It aired October 30th, 1985 on CBS. Originally titled Garfield in Disguise, they changed it to Garfield's Halloween Adventure to take advantage of the holiday programming. It was about Garfield and Odie going trick-or-treating and running into all sorts of spooky things while out there getting candy. It taught lessons about sharing, friendship, and reminded everyone that Binky the Clown is a jerk. The Garfield specials continued for another 8 years, making a total of 12 of them. Every special got a nomination, and 4 of them won. Garfield on the Town, Garfield in the Rough, Garfield's Halloween Adventure, and Garfield's Babes and Bullets. In 1988, there was the cartoon Garfield and Friends, which ran for 7 seasons and 121 episodes. Garfield's come back many times in movies and TV, but for me, nothing beats those old specials. I do love the heartwarming nature of the Christmas special, which is probably my favorite. But I have to admit, I do love the humor and the ghostly vibe from the Halloween Adventure. Garfield's Halloween Adventure is currently streaming on Plex. It's also on YouTube. Beavis and Butthead's Butt-O-Ween. Beavis and Butthead is one of the funniest TV shows of all time. For some reason, though, it took them 6 seasons before they did a Halloween special. This was long after they did their first special, A Very Special Christmas with Beavis and Butthead, which was the 26th episode of Season 3. Beavis and Butthead's Butt-O-Ween special, Bung Julio, Lord of the Harvest, aired October 31st, 1995. It was the first episode for Season 6. The special's about Beavis and Butthead going trick-or-treating. However, they aren't getting any candy due to being too old and not wearing costumes. Well, Beavis is wearing underwear on his head, and Butthead poured cheese on himself to go as nachos. Beavis eats an entire bowl of candy he stole from Tom Anderson, and he turns into the Great Cornholio. The episode gets dark and ends with Beavis hanging from a meat hook, only to be dismembered by zombie Butthead and an evil farmer. Much like every episode of Beavis and Butthead, this episode had appropriately Halloween-y music videos for the duo to goof on from Alice Cooper and King Diamond. You can buy a 2-pack of Butt-O-Ween and Do Christmas specials on DVD. Beavis and Butthead are streaming on Paramount+. Some clips are on YouTube, but not the full episodes. The Paul Lynde Halloween Special. If you grew up watching reruns of old game shows, you knew Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde was arguably the best guest of all time on the Hollywood Squares. His delivery and cadence made everyone want the contestants to choose him just to see what he would say. He was so popular, the producers placed him as a permanent fixture in the center square, which was a guarantee that he'd be chosen almost every segment. He appeared on 1,083 episodes of the show. Beyond that, he did voice acting, had his own sitcom, and was the host of a series of variety shows. On November 6, 1975, there was the Paul Lynde Comedy Hour on ABC. The special went over so well, the network had planned for the next one to be a Halloween special. The Paul Lynde Halloween special aired October 29th, 1976. It was full of bad jokes, bad puns, and the first primetime network appearance of Kiss. The show also had guest stars like Billy Barty, Betty White, and Tim Conway. It also had Margaret Hamilton recreating her role of the Wicked Witch of the West from 1939's Wizard of Oz. The show had several song and dance numbers with Lynde, which may be a make-or-break thing for some people. I don't care, this kind of stuff always made me laugh. He drives a truck into a diner, pledges to marry Pinky Tuscadero, and lets Mrs. Brady belt out a few tunes. This is 100% pure 70s. The show was a hit, which led to him doing another 5 variety specials for ABC, including a Christmas one. Naturally, out of all the specials he did, the Halloween one is the most famous, or most notorious, depending on who you ask. The Paul Lynde Halloween special was streaming on Amazon Prime, but not anymore. The show is currently on YouTube. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. Way back in season 2, when The Simpsons was really taking off, the show aired as The Simpsons Halloween special. It was the 3rd episode of season 2. It aired October 25th, 1990 on Fox. Originally supposed to be a one-off, the special was so popular, they decided to make it an annual thing. So for the following year, they retroactively named the first special The Treehouse of Horror. Part of the beauty of this was that they could take place outside of the canon from the shows, so the writers could go nuts with the characters in situations that wouldn't normally be in the regular series. Essentially, it gave them license to have fun. Each episode of The Treehouse of Horror is a 3-segment anthology. For the first one, they had Bad Dream House, which was a parody of Poltergeist, Hungry Are the Damned, which was a parody of an episode of The Twilight Zone, To Serve Man, and The Raven, a parody of the Edgar Allan Poe narrative poem, The Raven. James Earl Jones was the narrator for The Raven. It's really dumb, but the bit where Homer throws garbage into the portal and it responds, it always made me laugh.
Quit throwing your garbage into our dimension.
The show and future episodes take inspiration from many of the things the writers grew up with. The old 50s B-movies, the horror comics like Tales from the Crypt, and classic horror films like The Shining. As far as the individual segments, some of my favorites are Clown Without Pity from the 3rd special, and all 3 segments from the 5th special, Time and Punishment, The Shinning, and Nightmare Cafeteria. The specials became an audience favorite, and even people who stopped watching the show would still tune in to see the latest one. Speaking of, October 19th, 2025, they're going to air the 36th Treehouse of Horror. That's crazy. The series is streaming on Hulu, and you can buy them digitally on Amazon. A bazillion clips from the segments are on YouTube. The Muppet Show with special guest Alice Cooper. Season 3, Episode 7 of The Muppet Show, they brought on legendary shock rocker Alice Cooper. The show has Cooper announcing that he's an agent for the devil, and he'll give the Muppets fortune and fame in exchange for their souls. The show aired October 30th, 1978. In the background, they had all kinds of spooky decorations that really set the tone for the episode. The show also had an amazing rendition of Welcome to My Nightmare, complete with spooky Muppets, bats, skeletons, and it takes place in a Muppet crypt. While it may seem quaint now, this was genuinely unique and quite creepy for a kids' show back then, especially when the Muppets were largely adored for their family-friendly output. At the time, Cooper was under fire for his onstage antics in his live concerts, which emulated the old horror films, including fake blood and decapitations. Having him on the show angered some parents, but most of them understood it was harmless Halloween-themed entertainment. I've always loved this special, and for me, it's right up there with the Muppet Star Wars special. I think a lot of people today don't quite get just how big of a thing the Muppets were back then. The Muppet Show is streaming on Disney+. Lots of clips of the show are on YouTube, but not the entire series. There's some of my favorite Halloween specials. What are yours? Happy Halloween, everyone. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Paul Lynde. Well, somebody had to be.